Welcome and welcome back to the United Mates Football Podcast. Today, I'm joined in Los Angeles, California, as always, by my co-host Joe, who's back in our hometown of London. And as usual, we have a very special guest on the show as well, joining us from Spain, where they're based these days. He's a former professional referee who officiated at the highest level of English football for over a decade. He's also an ambassador for the Steve Prescott Foundation, which provides funds for those who have been seriously injured playing rugby, as well as those suffering from cancer, a disease that today's guest himself has battled through and overcome. These days, he does punditry work as well as managing a local football team of over 35s, Orihuela Costa Veteranos. We welcome Mark Halsey to the United Mates Football Podcast. Mark, it is an absolute pleasure to have you as our guest on the podcast. Cheers for joining us. How's it going, mate?
Yes, it's great to be with you. Go from being a goalkeeper to a referee, then becoming a manager, eh? We picked up that first point on Sunday, so in a local derby.
Oh, congrats. Well done. We're going to be talking about all of that, as you mentioned, sort of the playing days and then refereeing and now, managing out in Spain as well. But Joe, my co-host, you know what's coming now. This is, of course, the first podcast that we've recorded since the North London derby. And I know that you're keen as a Spurs fan to talk about that. So I'll just give you the floor. But otherwise, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. I'm happy. A couple of days have passed since the North London derby you mentioned. That first half was pretty painful viewing for a Spurs fan. I'm not going to lie. We'll wait and see how we bounce back. Yes, obviously.
Well, if you'd got that penalty, Joe, you never know, do you? Eh?
Oh yeah, that's true, Mark. Maybe you would have given it if you would have given it.
But it looked at it in real time when I was watching.
No, unsurprisingly, I agree with you. But Mark, it's honestly it's great to have you with us, as Keitel said. And whenever we have a guest on our podcast, we always start with an icebreaker question. So we've got one for you. And the question basically is that we've got on your Twitter page, Mark, and we've seen that, I think a few months ago now, you posted an image basically where you kind of showed what a handball is based on where it hits someone on their sleeve. But don't worry. We got a different question for you.
I might get it wrong.
But I guess footballers are partial to a sleeve of another kind, a tattoo sleeve. A lot of footballers these days have a lot of tattoos. So the question we have for you, Mark, is if you were to get a tattoo, what would you get and why? But we'll give you a bit of time to think about it. We'll give you our answers first. You can mull over that for a second. I'll go first. I mean, I don't have any tattoos, and I'm not really... a fan. I'm not a fan. And I'm not too sure, but I thought I'm a big fan of sushi. It's my favorite takeaway. So maybe I just get some sushi tattooed onto me. Quite random, but there we go. But Kai, you do have a few tattoos. So if you were going to get another one, what would you get?
Yeah, I think 8 deep. I'm collecting them at this point, and I've got 2 for both of my dogs who are behaving very well right now, thankfully. But I've got 2 from my first 2 dogs. I've got a 3rd dog now, so I think I would have to get something for him. The first 2 are Hercules and Zeus, so I've got like ancient Greek letters because of their name. But the other one, he's just called Boogie. So I've actually sort of seen a trend recently where you can get sort of the silhouette of your dog's ears if you take a picture, and someone will kind of tattoo a silhouette. And he's got an interesting sort of way that his ears are. One of them sort of flops down, and the other one, the tip of it is missing. So it'd be kind of a unique thing. I think I need to pay homage to Boogie because I've already got the others for my dogs. But Joe, is it like a tuna roll or a spicy salmon roll or something that you're getting?
Yeah, it's probably gonna be like salmon nigiri, I think, if I had to go. But yeah, that's potentially that's what I go for. But Mark, you've had a bit of time to think. I know you said you're not a big fan of tattoos, but if you had to get one, what would it be and why?
If I had to get one, it'd be my beloved team QPR, be the emblem, the badge on me. So that's my team. I'd have that on my legs, so everybody can see where I'm out in sunny Spain, walking on the beach. We're on our way back. Hopefully, we're playing Birmingham City tonight, so I'm hoping that we can pick up a win. I'm suffering 3 defeats in the last 3 games. That would be my tattoo on my body.
It's good to know that we're all, I guess, fans of London clubs, and hopefully we can have QPR back in the Premier League as another London club sooner rather than later.
Refereed many Tottenham Arsenal games over the years.
Well, we'll have to ask you about that, I think, in a bit. But on from beautiful body art to the beautiful game. And at first, we want to focus on football in your youth, Mark, because you mentioned it earlier as a goalkeeper. You were a non-league footballer for quite a while back in the day. And I'd say that's a level of the game where typically you have to really love the sport to stick it out for so many years. So I can only assume that you were football mad as a child. But I guess tell us where that passion comes from. What made you sort of fall in love with football in the first place?
I think obviously being in me junior school, we never started playing football back in the day until we were like 10 years of age. That's when you started in your junior school before you had 1 year left, and then you moved on to your secondary school. I played my first game in midfield, didn't do very well. And the next game we were struggling for a goalkeeper, and my schoolmaster put me in goals. And that's where I stayed for all my days. Sort of spent 3 seasons at Tottenham as a schoolboy, got released because I didn't have the desire and the dedication that I should have had. Had I known now, what I know now, then I most probably would have made it. But I then drifted into non-league football at Hertford Town, St Albans, Cambridge City, Welwyn Garden City. So yeah, loved every minute of it, and obviously wasn't badly paid either back in that day. So being a semi-professional footballer, so yeah, I spent from the age of 16 up to the age of 28 playing non-league football. It was just down the well. It's not whereabouts do you live?
I'm in northwest London, sort of West Hampstead area.
Oh, West Hampstead. We shouldn't be sporting Tottenham there, should you? Should be QPR.
Yeah, I mean, I probably am closer to them.
Yeah, it's our local club from our childhood.
Well, yeah, when my brother's involved in local football, he manages Ware FC in the Southern League. So,
okay.
Yeah, so they've got their big day on Saturday, playing Kidderminster Harriers in, I think, the third qualifying round of the FA Cup. So it's a big day for Ware, yeah. Down at Wisdom Park in West. That's a massive day for your brother. So,
oh yeah, well, best of luck to Ware. Hopefully they can beat the Harriers. But Mark, obviously we've spoken a bit about you. You played youth football. You were in the Spurs Academy. You played non-league football, but then obviously you've gone on to become a referee. So I guess my question is, what was the key factor behind that decision to transition from the playing side of the game to the officiating side?
Well, I mean, listen, people say you got to be mad to be a goalkeeper, but even worse to become a referee. So I've done them both, haven't I? It's interesting because I used to play for back in the day in the Welwyn Hatfield Sunday League, and it used to be in those days it was very strong. The league was very strong on a Sunday morning because who you played with on a Saturday, you used to play against them on a Sunday. So you were teammates on a Saturday and play against each other on a Sunday. And I played for a team called Wellingborough when I was younger, and it was a good friend of mine, Russell Foster, who we recently lost through COVID and everything. So he was a centre half, and I played in goal for his team called Wellingborough. And he honestly, some of the things he got up to on the football pitch by kicking people, punching people, elbowing people, and got away with it, And he became a referee. I couldn't believe, he became a referee, and he became good at it. And he refereed in the Welwyn Hatfield Sun League and got into the Isthmian League. And I love my cricket as well. I played cricket for 20 years in the Hertfordshire Cricket League for a team called Hatfield Hyde. And his garden backed onto our cricket field. And obviously, when you're batting, you all walk around that out of the boundary, putting the world to rights. And he always used to grab hold of me, Mark, why don't you become a referee? Come do what I've done. I said, Russ, I have got no interest whatsoever of becoming a referee. You know where you can go and stick that idea. So, he kept on me all summer, and it finally got to me because I was falling out of love a little bit with playing football. And I said, okay, then I'll make you a deal, because you have to take an 8-week course and then sit in the exam, and I couldn't be asked to do that. So I just said to him, listen, look, if I can read the laws of the game and revise the laws of the game and take an exam, I'll do it. And he come back to me and said, yeah, we got permission for you to do that. And I done it, and I passed, and I never looked back. That was, from 1988, 89. I gave up playing. I was then playing at Welwyn Garden City. So I was sort of playing and refereeing on a Sunday. So I was playing Saturdays and midweek and refereeing on a Sunday. And then it sort of started getting. I was obviously good at it, and then I had to sort of make that decision whether to quit actual playing, and then concentrate on my refereeing in the county league on a Saturday. Because if I was sent off and suspended by playing football, then I was also suspended from refereeing as well. So you have to be very careful when you have that rush of blood as a goalkeeper come airing out of your box to clear the ball. So eventually I sort of started refereeing at the weekends and then helping Welling Garden midweek when they were short of a goalkeeper. So I was refereeing at the weekends and playing, semi-professional football midweek when needed, and then sort of made that transition straight over, just quit playing and just concentrated on refereeing. And lucky for me, I sort of went up through the leagues and pretty quickly got promotion pretty quickly, and so saying never looked back and sort of wasn't sure whether I was going to enjoy it. I mean, when I was when I was refereeing in the Hearts County League reserve division, because you're on your own. I was used to being in a dressing room with like 16, 17 players having a great laugh, taking the mickey out of each other. And all of a sudden, you go to a dressing room all on your Jack Jones, and that's it. So you was on your own. You turned up, refereed the game, and went home. Whereas with the lads, you had your game, had your shower, and went in the bar after the game, and had a good time. So, but I overcome that, and as I say, moved on, and as I say, the rest is all history.
Yeah, no, it's certainly, the rest certainly is history, and I think you made the right choice, because I mean, obviously, you spoke about your rise up the leagues from the Hearts leagues right up to the Premier League, and I think you stayed in the top flight for about 14 years at least.
15 years, yeah.
So
1996 to 2014.
Yeah, exactly. So you were there for a long time, and there were a number of really exciting moments along the way. And I think probably most notably for me as a Spurs fan, you reffed the 2008 Carling Cup final, which is sadly the last time we actually won a trophy. I was there that day.
I remember it very well. Great day.
It was a fantastic day. But sort of going on from that, obviously that's probably my sort of favourite moment of your career. But is there any moment from that sort of time in the top flight that you remember the most fondly, and if so, why?
Listen, I mean, I had some great times, some referees, some great, truly great players, some legends of the game, and then obviously got the PGML and the Premier League a lot to thank for letting us go professional. So I had a wonderful career. I probably didn't achieve what perhaps my ability should have done, but that's down to other personnel. You can't change that. But I think if I'm looking back, over my career, as I say, I ref many big games, cup finals, and all sorts of games. And I think there's one game that really stands out in my mind. Obviously, you spoke of, you touched on my illness. When I came back from battling cancer, and I was told that perhaps I wouldn't survive, and if I did, I would never ever referee again. And I think that game at when I came back, Wigan Blackpool, that 2011-12 season, I think it was. I think that's the game that really sticks out in my mind, because I shouldn't have really been there to do it, and I was. So that's I think that sticks out, especially after. With my wife as well, she's battling leukemia, and it was a tough time for the family in that stage of our lives. So I think if I look back on that, I think that was a game that I was back, and I did struggle. I struggled immensely. Undergoing chemotherapy and radiotherapy. My body took a massive hit, and I found it a mountain to climb. And I'll say I've climbed Kilimanjaro, and a mountain to climb. But and I really did find it doing. I never thought I could see the way. I never thought I could see myself getting back into the top level, just solely because the fitness. And I done well. I got back. I think I failed a few fitness tests, and eventually failed. Never failed a fitness test in my life. Never, ever. And obviously coming back from that, I failed a couple, and that really got to me and upset me, to be fair. And so I think I think I spent another 3 seasons refereeing, but then my body was telling me, Mark, I can't take it anymore. My body told me that was it. After battling having the leukemia, the treatments, that body just said no more. I just couldn't handle the training regime and everything I had to do. And that's why I sort of and a couple of other things why I sort of decided to retire from the game.
Well, what an achievement given the many big games and rise through the leagues. But obviously, this is quite a personal journey in terms of coming back and battling against cancer. I can see you're wearing, I think, is it the Livestrong bracelet? I know this is kind of
yeah. Steve Prescott one and the Livestrong. Yeah, I've always,
yeah.
As soon as I had my operation, and then obviously the tumour grew back, and then I had to go into the Christie up in Manchester, a fantastic hospital. To undergo me treatment. That's when I got this. I've got this, and it's about to live strong. I know, obviously, people look at it now. Is that the right thing to wear? What went on with Lance? But he was at that time. He was a hero of mine for what he went through. But the Live Strong still lives on.
Yeah, well, it's quite nostalgic, the Livestrong and the Lance Armstrong times and stuff. So we're going to keep the nostalgia flowing, and we are going to continue to look back a bit at your career quickly. I've got sort of some quick fire questions for you, Mark. And I guess in your years refereeing, you would have officiated over probably maybe even thousands of individuals, especially when you sort of consider the coaching teams on the sidelines as well. So I guess from that pool and from the teams that you've refereed, the first question here is, who was your favorite player to referee?
Listen, I wouldn't say I had a favourite player. I got on with all the players. I mean, listen, there were players that are always in your ear, the likes of Craig Bellamy and Danny Mills. Always in your ear. Used to get on your nerves. But that's football. They do what they do, and I have to sort of. I'm there to officiate and tell them what I think. They used to tell me they used to tell me what they thought, and I used to give it back to them. But that goes on the football pitch, and you have to engage with the players in their language, and that's how you get their respect. You get their respect from you actually in your decision making and the way you talk to them and engage. So listen, I got on with all the players. We had moments on the pitch, some of us, but. We'd all come off shaking hands and having a laugh and a joke while the game was going on as well. And you can still do that. You can still use common sense in refereeing. You can referee with a personality, because that's what football's all about. We need referees with natural ability and personality. And I think I had that. And I think that's why the players I got on with the players. I didn't really have one favourite player. I just got on with all the players. I had some great rapport on the field with many players. Danny Mills Danny Murphy when he was at Fulham. When he was captain of Fulham, we had some conversations. I can't say on here, obviously, but some of the conversations. Same with Stephen Gerrard and Jordan Henderson and Alan Shearer, all the big Gary Neville and Phil Neville and Patrick Vieira. Had some moments with Patrick. Great player. Listen, I haven't got any one favourite player. I just got on with all of them, and that was the way I got on with people, by engaging with them and smiling with them.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
And telling them where to get off sometimes.
Well, no, I think it makes sense that sort of a big personality as a referee is going to sort of mesh well with inevitably these big personalities on the football pitch. And it's good to hear that it sort of goes both ways. I think I've heard some interviews with footballers who mentioned that they appreciate the referees' personalities and not being too sort of formal, I guess, about the whole process. And it seems like you were able to accomplish all of that. But I guess I'm going to press you maybe a bit further on this next one, because what I've got lined up is your least favorite player, but you might be probably too diplomatic to say. So maybe I can ask, who made your life the most difficult instead?
Made my life most difficult. I just mentioned two players.
Bellamy and Danny Mills.
Danny Mills and Craig Bellamy, because they're always making it difficult. You could never win with them. You could never win until Danny went to Man City, because he thought I was a big Man City fan, and then he behaved himself with me. He liked me. But no, listen. I got on well with them, but they were two players that were always moaning to me. Always moaning.
Was there a manager that was either, again, maybe the most difficult to keep in check, or maybe the most memorable relationship that you would have had, or any names in terms of managers? I got on managers. I got on with all managers. There were times where managers we agreed to disagree,
We had discussions after the dressing room, in my dressing room. I mean, Neil Warnock was one of those who'd always come banging on my door, always come banging on my door. But got on very well with him. He'd come and say his piece, and you agreed to disagree. I always remember him coming into my change room at when he was manager at Sheffield United, banging on my door. Mark, it's only Neil. I said, Neil, I don't want to speak to you. Get lost, do one. And he said, no, Mark, I only want to come and tell you what a good game I thought you had. I said, oh, well, can you come, Neil, when you come? Because that's very rare. But no, listen, you got with managers, you've got to understand that their frustrations and the pressures that are on managers, and you've got to understand that you've got to understand the pressures that they're under, and I sort of understood that you've got to show a little bit of common sense when you're dealing with, especially as a fourth official, and as referees, we have to show empathy for the game. We have to show a little bit of empathy for the game, and that's what I always used to do with having played the game at a reasonable level. You understand. I always used to like to referee games. I used to like play with referees that would speak to me and laugh with me and joke with me and have a smile on their face, because it makes a massive difference. I remember we were refereeing Stoke City and Blackburn when they were in the Premier League, and Kenwyn Jones, I come out to warm up, and Kenwyn Jones was coming out at the same time. He put his arm round. He said, when we saw you come out, we were so pleased, because we thought we had someone else today, but when we saw you, we were so pleased we had you. So that sort of, I was a replacement. So, but that shows the measure of some players, what they think of certain referees. And players do know referees. They do know their referees.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that, because obviously teams and the players put so much prep into the next game, and it can all sort of, maybe from the sounds of things, get not necessarily spoilt, but a bit of a twist can kind of come in if quote unquote maybe the wrong referee or the referee that they don't necessarily want to play in that game with comes along. Again, sounds like you were pretty well embraced by these players. And then on Neil Warnock, he obviously, I think, was trained as a referee as well, so he's got a bit of a background, so he knows his stuff, I guess. Fair enough, Neil. But I'm going to ask a couple more of these questions. And you mentioned having refereed in North London derbies in the past, so I guess on that note of rivalries, is there a most heated or intense rivalry game that you've refereed in, or sort of a series of rivalries between two clubs?
No, it's always been always tough games. I think the standout one was when it was White Hart Lane. I think it was your invincible season. I think it was. Oh yeah. I think most probably it may have been the last game or second to last game.
It was late on. Yeah.
Was it 2-2?
Yeah.
When I awarded a penalty in the last minute for
Lehman versus Robbie Keane. Yeah.
Jens Lehman was being a bit of an idiot, like he always was. On the field when corners are coming across. I mean, that was a super game. I always remember that one, and obviously, it was. I think that was the when you won the league, didn't you? That's how much you was Invincibles that season. I think it was, wasn't it? And
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, that was it. That was very intense and difficult, as it was when I refereed the games at Highbury and the Emirates. It was always tough games, and you had to be on. You had to be mentally tough, and your concentration levels had to be at the top, up the top. Because if you dropped off and you and especially when that tempo went up and you wasn't focused, then something would happen and you wouldn't get it right. So it was very always intense. And as referees, you go out very nervous. Once you blow that whistle, you're fine. And once you make that first decision, and you've got that first decision right in the first minute, your body, your stature, you just go 10 feet tall, and you're going to have a good game today. But you've got to be on the money. So because the players they make you, and the crowd make you that you've got to have a good game. You can't drop away, because if you do, then the players know. The players know when the referee's having a different game.
Yes, sounds like a very solitary place to be, and under a lot of pressure. And either you can thrive under that pressure, or it kind of
you've got to be mentally tough. You've got to be mentally tough. Otherwise, you wouldn't make that level.
Well, speaking of sort of making that level and being a good referee, this last question in the quickfire sort of section that I have for you is: which player that you refereed in your day do you think themselves would actually make a good referee?
Oh, not too many. Well, I mean, there was a lot of players that tried to tell you how to referee, and I sort of offered them the whistle, but they didn't want to know. They declined. No, really. I think I think. Listen, I was one of those ex-players that become a referee and become a good referee. Don't mean to say ex-players will become good referees. I think it just becomes natural as it did to me. But I think I don't know. Looking back over the years, I know Jordan Henderson used to referee the games. That is Steven Gerrard. So, but as I say, I got on very well with those two. So there's many teams and captains. I mean, John Terry is another one. He used to try and referee the game for you. I mean, when he sort of it's funny with John. I got on well with John because he always used to come in because he always liked to chat to the referee. He always used to like to chat to me. And he always used to come with a team sheet with his managers. And as soon as he walked into my dressing room, I used to tap him round the face. He says, "When I bring the team sheets in, why do you always slap me round the face?" I says, "Because I can't do it out there." So we got on well. I mean, there's I suppose there's most probably many players out there that could become referees, but not so sure with the guys at the top that are making millions. They don't need to do it. I think if we're looking for progression planning, I think we have to look to League One and League Two and perhaps the National League for referees, because obviously they don't come in their 30s. They're looking for something else. So they don't earn a great deal of money, and perhaps they then could perhaps become referees, take the course, and then I think what we need to adopt in refereeing world is that if you look at cricket, the amount of ex-players that go into umpiring in cricket, they start off in the second 11. They don't start right down at the bottom at club level or village cricket level. They start at the second 11, and then they obviously go in there, and then they go elevate into the county and obviously the international panel. Well, I think that perhaps referees or ex-players in League One and League Two and the National League looking perhaps to have a go at refereeing should start refereeing in the National League. That's where they do their training. They pass out, do their training, and then move up. You can't ask because players do know how players tackle, and if you're going in the wrong way, or you've gone in with the wrong leg, or you've gone over the top. You always know when as a player, when a player miscontrols it and he's stretching, he's struggling to get to that ball, he's going to make a bad challenge. So for me, I would definitely look at ex-players from League One and Two in the National League to perhaps look at taking up refereeing, and it's a good salary. They can make a good salary. They're young. They're still young enough to get on to perhaps to make it right to the top and get onto the FIFA panel, the international panel.
Yeah, the more we talk about it, the more obvious the benefits of keeping experienced players of the game in the game from the other side of it as a referee. The benefits that can come with that. But then also it sounds like a lot more could be done to incentivize kind of that route in the first place.
Absolutely.
So hopefully things will change. But bringing things forward to today on sort of a wider scale of refereeing, I guess, as is the nature of the game, obviously things evolve, and refereeing has certainly evolved a lot for better or for worse. So I think some recent and progressive alterations to laws about things like offsides, handballs, and the last man rule have felt quite positive. But then when it comes to VAR and the game as a spectator sport, some of the excitement and that kind of ability to live in the moment seems to have been lost, in particular for fans. Go on, Mark.
Let me just go back on it. There's no last man rule. No rule. It's the laws. There's no last man law. It's did that player deny a goal or a goal scoring opportunity?
Exactly. I misspoke, but what I'm saying is I like it. Yeah, I like the change that they made. Yeah, because in the past you thought last man equals red card, but now it's if an attempt to play the ball has been made.
If he makes a genuine attempt to play the ball inside the penalty area, then it'll be a penalty and a yellow card.
Exactly.
But if he makes a genuine attempt outside the penalty area, he's still going to get a red card.
Oh, in that case, maybe I've muddled up my lines, but
Absolutely.
one way or another. Thanks for clearing
That's a
that
yellow
up.
card for you. That's a
Yeah,
yellow
yeah.
card.
I'm on my last warning. Yeah, at this point, so I'll have to keep the rest of it a bit more tight than that. But I guess, as you've cleared that up for me, and you're the expert in this situation, Mark. The big question kind of is, what are your thoughts on VAR and the general sort of standard of modern day refereeing?
Well, I think that I think in the Premier League we've struggled to implement VAR correctly with the IFAB protocol. That's one thing. It's good. Last season they were, FIFA took over and they instructed Mike Riley that the English referees have to view the monitor. They cannot let the VAR make that decision. That's not the protocol. If VAR recommended a review, then the on-field referee has to go and view the monitors. That was good. And the other thing for me is a clear and obvious error. We were getting officials, VAR officials, just re-refereeing the game. And that's not what it's there for. It's there, it's there for the howler. That's what VAR is there for. And it seems to be, we started off positive this season, and we seem to be creeping. We've had some inconsistencies this season regarding, free kicks leading up to a clear error, leading up to a goal scored. We've had a few instances where a free kick's been given, and a couple of occasions where free kicks haven't been given. We think, well, hang on, if they give one at Man City against, I think it was against Norwich, and then the following day you had, I think there was one at Southampton and Man United where I think Fernandes was fouled on Southampton on the build up to Southampton's goal. So there's inconsistencies there. One was disallowed, one wasn't disallowed. One was checked, and one wasn't checked, or they were both checked, but one was seen as a foul, one wasn't seen as a foul. So we need that consistency, and on those situations, they're not clear and obvious errors. So why is VAR get involved? So I think we've seen a positive up until the international break, but all of a sudden, we saw last week, where I think it was West Ham, Man United, where I think there was 4 big penalty shouts in the game, and well, for me, there should have been 4 penalties given, and only one out of the 4. And there was 2 on Ronaldo, what I thought were absolutely nailed on. And obviously there was one for West Ham on Solskjaer when he got taken out just on the edge of the penalty area. And they don't give the clear handball one. It's recommended a review by VAR, but they didn't review the other 3 that were equally, for me, clear and obvious errors. So I think there's still a bit more work to be done there with VAR. I think the standard of officiating, I think that we've got some super referees out there. I think, obviously our best referee is by far Michael Oliver. Obviously followed by, you've got Anthony Taylor, and experience of Mike Dean and Andre Mariner and Martin Atkinson. And unfortunately, I think as you get older, your performances take a dip, and that's only natural, because when you get into your 50s, you're not thinking as fast as you normally do, like if you're in your early 40s or 45. So, but I think we've got some good youngsters coming through with Andy Madley. I think Paul Tierney's making his mark. Chris Kavanagh, he seems a bright future. Listen, for me, it's I think the referee standards have declined over the last 10 years. We've got to look at our progression planning, and we've spoke briefly about getting referees, ex-players into the game. But for me, the one thing for me is that football coaches turn average players into good players into excellent players. That's no different to referee coaches, and unfortunately, we have a severe lack of top referee coaches at the highest level to bring these referees through. And I think that's where we are severely lacking at the level, all levels of the game, with quality referee coaches.
Yeah, well, hopefully, those coaches will start to come through. And like you said, if there's a good sort of younger generation of referees emerging, that can only be a good thing. And hopefully VAR, like you said, generally it seems to be better this year, with the odd thing creeping in. But I feel like on the whole, there's less controversy than last year when, like you said, it was just being, I don't know, it was bizarre, some of the things that were happening.
Well, it's all over the place. I think if we look at Euro 2020, that was fantastic. The refereeing was superb, and that's all down to the leadership and direction of Roberto Rossetti. So that's the key. The leadership and direction. I think the leadership and direction from the PGR management at present is not what it should be.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with that. But like you said, all positive from Euro 2020. But on a different note, as a referee, so at the moment, not just in football, in the wider society, but racism in football is very evident. Both on social media, we see it a lot, but unfortunately, in the stands, it can still happen. And there are incidents sometimes. We've seen it over the years where fans have been accused of being racist and so on. As a referee, I don't know if you were sort of ever trained with this, but do you think at present referees are given adequate training to deal with these highly unsavoury incidents when there is sometimes?
Yeah. Well, there is a protocol to referees, and listen, I think there is a protocol that if they don't hear it, or the players do and the captains do. They approach the referee. They go to the safety steward, the manager, who's the safety manager, and then obviously inform the managers, inform everybody. There's a message that comes out on the tannoy, and then the referees have the power. If it continues, the referees have the power to take the players off and abandon the game. But fortunately, that's never happened in the Premier League or in the Football League, and we don't want to see that. We don't want that. I think that abuse and racism in society and in all forms of sport is got to stop, because it's just despicable for me to me. And I think we're all one. We're all one. And I think the social media companies are going to do a lot more than what they're doing now, and it's not going to stop, because it just keeps going on and on and on. It's not going to stop until something comes in, or the police have the power to send these guys to jail. Give them a prison sentence. They lose their job then, won't they? They won't do it. They won't do it again. And it's something that's got to stop in society. Abuse. I mean, I suffered a horrendous abuse myself and my family after I retired, and I was still refereeing as well. Some horrendous abuse towards my little girl. I mean, I couldn't tell you what was sent to me regarding my little girl. And the thing that annoyed me was, I mean, the police wanted to take action. They wanted to nail these people that sent these unforgivable abuse, but Twitter would not give them the account. Twitter would not release the account to the police. The police were mortified. If you saw what was sent through to me regarding my wife and my little girl, you wouldn't believe. You just would not believe what they want to do to her. And there lies the problem. There lies the problem. And that was 2014, 2013, 14. And we're still talking about it now. It's still going on.
Yeah, when it comes to especially social media, the anonymity of it all is this double-edged sword that in these types of situations, we're talking about kind of legal matters essentially, and it's a roadblock, and it's
absolutely
it's all, I guess, a new thing that we're working through in the age of I shouldn't say the age of the internet like it's a new dawn thing, but in this age that we live in, it's we're all figuring it out. But this is just it's wrong. Otherwise, on a lighter note, we are going to just, before we finish up, move back to something that you're up to these days, and I referenced it at the top of the show. It seems like it's something you're quite proud of, is managing Orihuela Costa Veteranos, this team of over 35s that I mentioned. And you've been a player, you've been a ref, and now you're a manager. So would you, I guess, reflecting on these different experiences, have one that you maybe enjoy the most? I know you've had different lengths of time that you've been able to dedicate to them so far, but as a just pure experience, what do you enjoy the most? Playing, reffing, managing?
Listen, I love playing. I love me refereeing days, and now I'm back. I mean, I came back here. I was the goalkeeper for a couple of years. Went back to playing goal for the Vetrianos. We still play like an 8v8 as well, twice a week as well. So yeah, listen, I have to be careful because they all know who I am. Even the Spanish teams, they all know who I am, and I have to be careful. And sometimes having been a referee for 20 odd years and standing on the side, becoming a manager and seeing some of the decisions that the referee makes, so you just sometimes have to bite your lip because on Sunday I was the referee, the goalkeeper dropped the ball, put the ball on the floor, rolled it along with his foot along the floor, and then he picks it up. You can't do that, referee. What are you doing? You can't do that.
Yeah.
But no, listen, I do enjoy it. I take the training as well on a Thursday. We're allowed to sign 5 players between 30 and 35, but only 3 can play, and all the rest have to be over 35. But I still referee in the league as well. So the teams we play, they see me as a referee as well. So because I referee in the league as well as managing the league, a team in the league. So it's good fun. I just love football. I've been involved in football since I was 8, 9, 10. So yeah, I just love football. And I think if I had someone like if Keith Hackett was still in charge when he retired in 2010, I most probably would have stayed on most probably for a couple of more seasons because I think as referees are no different to players. Some of us need to be loved. Some of us need a kick up the backside. And Keith Hackett knew how to do that. And I think he would have kept me on for another 1 or 2 years and managed me better than perhaps I was managed before. After he'd gone, I should say.
That would have been interesting to see. But I guess on your team, one more question: Are they the best behaved players in the league, and do they never do any foul throws? Presumably.
Yeah, they've been warned. Obviously, we have to put €50 to the league because every time we pick up a yellow card, they take the money out of the €50 that's held by the league. So. We picked up 1 caution in 2 games. We played 2 games. We've had 1 caution. We're at the top of the fair play league at the moment. I was disappointed with the caution we received on Sunday because one of my players took a quick free kick, and if you do that out here, the Spanish referees don't like it, and he cautioned him for taking a quick free kick. So I just said to the referee, "Oh, come on, referee, just calm down. You didn't just talk to him, talk to the player, talk to him." But listen, they're totally different out here, the Spanish referees.
Well, I'm glad to hear that the Veteranos, they're a well-behaved team, and
they are with me because they get warned before we go out. So if they get caution for dissent, then I'll take the money off them.
Very nice.
But follow us. You can follow us on Facebook. We're on Facebook. We're on Facebook and we're on Twitter as well.
Oh, brilliant! Well, actually, that's good timing, Mark. Actually, because we've come to the end of the podcast today. So I just want to thank my co-host Keitel, but obviously also a massive thank you to you, Mark. And we really appreciated you coming on. But what I was going to ask you, which is quite handy, is how can our listeners kind of best follow you and kind of keep up to date with everything that you're doing?
Listen, obviously I'm on Twitter at referee Halsey. And obviously our team, Oliver Costa Vetrianos, that's on there on Twitter as well. And obviously I write in a national newspaper for all big decisions. You most probably would have seen my column on Monday in the Sun newspaper regarding the incidents of at the Emirates and with the penalty that Harry should have had, and he should have had a penalty. I'm not sure how the referee didn't see that in real time because, like I say, if that had been given, it could have been a different game, couldn't it? So, big moment of the game. That big moment. So, but yeah, so if they can obviously talk sport. I'm on Talk Sport most Mondays. So there we are.
Yeah, on that North London derby incident, I'll be the first to admit that I also thought that it should have been a foul on Ben White and a penalty, but I'm also going to be the first to say that I am not complaining whatsoever about that decision that did end up standing. To Mark, thanks again Best of luck in all of your endeavors with the veteranos as well, and best wishes to you and your family. Otherwise, to our listeners, if you enjoyed that conversation, please do follow the pod wherever it is that you like to stream your favorite podcasts. Just look for United Mates Football Podcast. You can find us the same way on YouTube if you want to put some faces to these voices. Don't forget to click that subscribe button while you're at it. On social media, we're at United Mates FP across Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So give us a follow there. And then for all of that content and more in one place, visit the website. That's unitedmatesfp.com. Until next time, everyone, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Goodbye.